Let's face it, there are lots of great psychological thrillers out there, and when a movie has you sitting on the edge of your seat, looking over your shoulder, and wondering what is around the corner, that's when you know you're in for one hell of a ride. Many psychological thrillers are also great at creating a sense of tension and even anxiety, which is why they can have such a huge impact on their audiences. As with most genres in the world of film and entertainment, there are classics and then there are those that just don't cut it. But if you love this genre, then here's our list of the best psychological thrillers ever made. Enjoy! Before we jump into our list, let's take a quick look at a trivia question. Which movie is considered to be the first major thriller? A. Saw, B. Psycho, C. Escape Room. Just hold on and we'll answer this movie trivia, and feel free to put your answer in the meantime in the comments below. Also, if you're not ready, be sure to subscribe and ring that bell. And here we go. Number 10, The Gift. This movie is a great choice for fans of psychological thrillers. Director Joel Edgerton did a wonderful job here, and the result is a great movie. This one has a unique twist on the standard formula of the genre. The audience is in suspense throughout the entire movie, as it offers many unexpected twists and turns along the way. This one also released an extended version, which is worth checking out if you have time to kill. The extended version includes more depth to the storyline, which makes it worthy of seeing twice. This movie features two of Hollywood's best young actors in Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall. Number 9, The Sixth Sense. This movie is one of the best teen movies out there and is also one of the best psychological thrillers of all time. This movie was also a huge box office hit, which means that it made quite a lot of money. It's an instant classic which held up over the years since it was released. Although it's not the scariest movie on our list, The Sixth Sense does a great job at making its audience feel tense and anxious throughout its running time. Many people say that this is one of the most surprising movies ever made, and in our opinion, it really is. This movie stars Bruce Willis in his best performance ever as Dr. Malcolm Crowe, along with Haley Joel Osment as Cole Sear and Toni Collette as Dr. Lynn Sear. Number 8, The Shining. This one may not be one of the best teen movies of all time, but it definitely deserves to be on our list of the best psychological thrillers ever made. If you have never really seen this movie before, then we highly recommend that you do because it's really good. The ending could have been better, but that didn't stop this film from becoming an instant classic when it was released back in 1980. When Jack Nicholson's character goes completely insane, we feel a sense of panic and tension that is hard to describe. Also, the way that the camera moves around the hotel adds to the sense of dread as well. This movie has a great cast: Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, and Danny Lloyd as young Danny Torrance. The Shining is one of Stephen King's best books ever written, so it's no surprise that it became one of the best horror movies ever made. Number 7. This is one of the best teen movies of the last few years and was also one of the most profitable when it was released back in 1995. The director, David Fincher, did a great job here, and it's no wonder he's been nominated for 5 Oscars over the years. This screenplay is also very good, which is why this movie became such a success. This movie has lots of cool twists and turns that keep you guessing until the very end. Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are at their best here, and each brings their own unique style to their roles. It's hard not to be impressed by this one as it holds up well after all these years. 7 may not have had a great ending, but that didn't stop it from becoming one of the best psychological thrillers ever made. Number 6, Fight Club. This film could be considered to be an anti-capitalist thriller, which means that it's not going to be on everyone's list. Fight Club has an edgy feel throughout its running time, and it's definitely not the kind of movie that you can just sit back and relax to. Both Brad Pitt and Edward Norton did a great job with their roles, and this movie has an amazing cast as well. They say that the first rule of Fight Club is that you don't talk about the Fight Club, but we're gonna talk about it anyway. We think that this movie deserves a spot on our list of the best psychological thrillers ever made because it does a great job at making us feel tense and anxious throughout its running time. And at number 5, we have Scream. The first in the now legendary Scream franchise is easily one of the best teen movies of all time, and I know some people would say that Scream isn't even a thriller. It may not be straight up a horror or thriller, but it has elements of both, and it's an absolute blast. Scream is also full of twists and turns that will keep you guessing until the very end. This movie is the ultimate 90s slasher movie that put Wes Craven back on the map. And with this movie, Craven proved that he can make a great movie outside of the horror genre. And it's no wonder so many sequels followed Scream. Number 4, The Prestige. I know this is more of a drama than a thriller, but it still absolutely belongs on the list. Here's why. The Prestige is another Christopher Nolan masterpiece, and it's one that is full of twists and turns, just like his other thriller, Memento. Now, I know some people may disagree with me putting this one on here, but it has all the elements of a thriller in my opinion. It also has a great cast including Hugh Jackman, Christian Bale, Sir Michael Caine, and Scarlett Johansson. This is another movie that you're going to have to pay attention to what's happening in order to figure out where it's going and what's going to happen. This is Nolan at his best. Number 3, The Vanishing, 1988. This 1988 Dutch film added some new elements to the mix, such as being told from the female perspective and jumping back and forth between present day and the past. It also takes a much more psychological approach to the genre than most thriller movies. It's not a fast-paced thrill ride, instead it's a slow-burning thriller that builds and builds until you feel like you can't breathe. This movie is just so tense and it really makes you feel very uneasy. This is another one of those movies that you really need to pay attention to in order to understand what's going on, because it can get confusing at times. This movie is about a woman who is trying to figure out what happened to her boyfriend. She then starts to suspect that he may have been murdered. It has a great cast including Jean Bervet, and Jeroen Krab. Number 2, Get Out. Get Out is a movie I had my doubts about, but the movie surprised me and blew me away. The movie is a mix of horror and thriller, and it's also a social commentary about racism in today's society. The movie has a great cast led by Daniel Kaluuya, Allison Williams, Bradley Whitford, Caleb Landry Jones, and Betty Gabriel. I can't say too much about the plot without spoiling it, so if you haven't seen Get Out yet, then get out and watch it. If you're looking for some great twists and turns, and this definitely has some. This is one of the best thrillers to come out in years. Before we get to number 1, let's take a look back at the trivia question from earlier. Which movie is considered to be the first major thriller? A. Saw, B. Psycho, C. Escape Room. The answer is B. Psycho is considered by many film critics and historians to be one of the best movies ever made, as well as one of the first major thrillers ever made, which certainly has paved way for many others since its release in 1960. A time when how horror movies were filmed by audiences changed forever, with this film especially with its graphic scenes and twist endings, which were very unheard of at that time of its release. It was seen as such a huge risk by Alfred Hitchcock, but it turned out to be one of the greatest films ever in his career, and it really helped shape his entire career from then on out. It was also one of the first films to show nudity and blood on the screen, and for it to have a killer with a mental illness. Now let's get back to our list of the best thriller movies in the last few years. Number 1, Shutter Island. This 2010 Martin Scorsese movie is just all around great. It got some really good performances, especially from Leonardo DiCaprio and Mark Ruffalo. In the 1950s, U.S. Marshal Teddy Daniels is investigating a psychiatric facility on a secluded island. He is convinced that one of the inmates, a woman who has been impregnated and claims to be pregnant with the devil's child, is not as insane as she claims to be, but is faking in order to get her released from the asylum. This movie has one of the best climaxes of any thriller that I've ever seen, and it really left me on the edge of my seat. In this movie, DiCaprio plays a U.S. Marshal who is investigating the disappearance of a patient at a hospital for the criminally insane called Shutter Island. This movie is full of twists and turns that will leave you guessing until the very end. This one also has an amazing score by Howard Shore, which adds to this movie's overall atmosphere. Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe, comment on what you think about this video, and like it. We put out videos several times a week, so ring that bell to be notified when we post new content. Thanks for watching, stay tuned, and take care.